Julie, however you feel like pronouncing his name, July Perry, and Mose Norman, who were two of the most prominent black men in Ocoee in 1920. And this happened to be the first year that women had the right to vote. We had just won the battle of women's suffrage, and we also had just recently gotten black people the right to vote. And July Perry decided, you know what, I'm going to encourage people to vote, do their civic duty. And as time goes on, the days go in, they voted, and the racists that probably live in that green house over there decided that it was a great idea to rally everybody together from neighboring towns, from Winter Garden, from Apopka, from Pine Hills, from everywhere around, rally everybody together and say, we're just going to form a mob, and we're going to hurt people. I know I'm kind of whitewashing that, and making it sound a lot more simple than it was. But basically, July Perry was subsequently lynched that night. They burned down 24 black homes, every single black institution in the entire city of Ocoee. They drove out over 500 black people that lived in Ocoee. I've lived here most of my life. I just recently moved out of the UCF area into Kissimmee. But I've lived here with my very, very Trump-Republican family. And it's not something that I've ever learned. I had to teach myself that the Ocoee Massacre happened. Frankly, when I first learned that it happened, I saw that 13 people had died. Do you know how many people actually died? 50. Is that number accurate? No, we don't even know how many people died at the Ocoee Massacre, which is one of the largest massacres that happened against black Americans in less than 100 years. Like, this needs to stop. It's had to stop for 400 years. There's genuinely no good reason why racists should exist, and so that's why we're here today, to tell them to shut the fuck up and be a good person. It's really that simple. That's it. That's all I got.
And so, as a black person, I didn't actually know about this. Take this up. I didn't know anything about this until he told me. And I was like, Ocoee Massacre. I know about Rosewood. I know about Tulsa. I know about parts of Atlanta, like when they killed Leo Frank and all that stuff. But Ocoee? And then I researched it, and they were all Klansmen. This is a Klan town, and so close, in a place tucked away where you would never know that this happened. I was like, oh yeah, we totally got to get on this. And more than just to memorialize it, more to just think about it, to honor and celebrate the people who are brave enough to go out and say, no, let's vote. Let's do the stuff that America says we have the right to, even though it costs them their lives. And so even today, when we're standing out here, though we can stand out here in the peace and comfort of the fact that we have social media and stuff like that, we still very much can fall prey to the same thing that happened to them all those years ago. And it should cause us to be mindful, but to also celebrate the fact that we can make it change. We can make that difference. We can be that actual change agent so our subsequent generations don't have to deal with this. I don't want to have kids that have to be out here again to march, especially in a pandemic. I don't want to have to worry about having my son go off like I go off and my mom is clinging to me like, Gabe, please come back. And I'm like, I ain't gonna get shot. I'll disappear into the trees. My ancestors taught me well. But I don't want to have to worry about my son going off and not coming back, or my daughter going off and not coming back. So we do this for them. And so with that, I would like to have our first speaker with either of you. Ladies first? Ladies first?
Why not?
Ladies first?
I don't need it.
The illustrious Kyla?
Please, not illustrious. I'm none of those things. I'm just me. All right, go away.
Kyla?
Go ahead and sing on that stuff. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm loud. So, I'm going to build on what was just said by adding to the fact that in addition to murdering these people and driving them out of town, their property was stolen. So a lot of the houses that you see in Ocoee, probably some of the ones around here, were built on land that was stolen from those black people at little to nothing. So they stole land and were able to build a life and build a living that they were then able to pass down to their children or sell and make profit off of on the backs and on the lives and at the spilled blood of these black people. All right. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. I'm just gonna let that sit for a minute. I'm honored and humbled to be here today. Honored that I was even asked to be here to speak because for a long time I've struggled with recognizing the value and importance of my own voice. To people who know me, this might seem strange because I'm an entertainer and an artist who quite literally makes money off using my voice. But I don't take this opportunity or this experience lightly. This demonstration is a sobering reminder of the history that's been swept under the rug, a history that deserves to be remembered and its martyrs honored. I grew up in Daytona Beach, a mere stone's throw away from here, yet even as a native Floridian, I was a fully grown adult before I had ever heard of the Ocoee Massacre. None of my history classes or history books mentioned it, because our history books had already decided that it just wasn't important. In fact, it wasn't until this year, near 100 years later, that a bill was proposed to make the Ocoee Massacre a required part of Florida school curriculum. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. But we cannot remember what we are never told. For years, one of Florida's 2 statues on display in the U.S. Capitol was of Confederate General Edmund Kirby Smith. But there was never a statue for July Perry, who was murdered for daring to exercise his constitutional right to vote. Last year, there was a historical marker placed in Heritage Square honoring him, but no statue. Not in any government building or anywhere else for that matter. Greenwood Cemetery, which sits in the heart of Orlando, has a Confederate section honoring Confederate soldiers who died, yet justice was never served and no monument erected for the community of black homes, schools, and businesses that were burned to the ground. Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it. I often hear this version of a quote attributed to Winston Churchill used as a justification for keeping those same Confederate statues and monuments up, when their very existence proves that we have failed to learn from, or even to really learn, history. Our monuments are a display of the history that we value and cherish. A statement that we as a country, state, city have made with these monuments is that we value and cherish oppressors, but care little about the oppressed. It's time to make a different statement. It's time to shed light on these stories and teach them fully and honestly. It's time to learn the hard lessons of the past that this country and our history books have tried to ignore and shield us from, so that we are equipped to build a better future. We have a really bad habit of looking at history as though it occurs in a vacuum. This view gives us the luxury of ignoring the significance of events that precede, follow, and influence them. It allows us to sink into the complacency of, this was a tragedy, or this should never have happened, and this can never happen again, rather than really examining how all of the events, past and present, influence and are influenced by the world around it. It blinds us to the painful and uncomfortable truth of our own complicity, because the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch and do nothing. And for so long after this event, and so many others like it, we did nothing. In fact, it took over 60 years before Ocoee saw another black resident in the aftermath of this massacre. The Ocoee Massacre and its memorial are so important because they clearly demonstrate the power of black voices. The fact that we are here in a year of possibly the most important election of our lifetimes, commemorating a massacre that occurred on an election day, is not and will never be lost on me. The fact that we live in a state that voted overwhelmingly to expand democracy by restoring voting rights to felons who have completed all of the terms of their sentences, but was met with the equivalent of a poll tax by state leadership, is not and will never be lost on me. Because if our voices weren't powerful, there wouldn't be so many attempts, both with overt violence and covert legislation, to silence them. It's a reminder of how important it is for all of us to raise our voices individually and collectively, to never be silent or to be silenced, and to be bold and unapologetic in telling these stories. As an artist, one of the first things that I've really learned is the power of a story. I learned that the power a story holds is increased exponentially when told effectively. When we look at history, our past, and even in our own lives, what are we but a collection of our own stories? My own story doesn't begin with me. It began a long time ago with an enslaved woman named Rachel Cook, who lived in a world that hated, abused, and violated her. A woman whom it took me years of my own life to find because history was determined to forget her. Her story is a reminder that we are standing on the shoulders of those who were excluded from this country's promise, yet they still fought. They fought to their last breath for the power to have their voices heard through their votes and through their stories. In that spirit, I will raise my voice for all of them. I will raise my voice for my grandmother, who was born in 1920 South Carolina, into a society to whom she didn't matter, to the extent that we knew nothing about her, not her real name or when she was born, until the day that she died. She still devoted her life to serving others in spite of this, regardless of whether or not they deserved it. And she died in a world where she never got to cast a vote for the first black president because it was always seen as an impossibility and a fantasy. I will raise my voice for my grandfather, who served in the military during this country's wars, but was deprived of the fullness of this country's rights and freedoms. I will raise my voice for my cousin, who fell victim to this country's unjust and racially skewed war on drugs, and has served nearly a decade of his life in federal prison due to nonviolent drug offenses. I will raise my voice for all of the black children whose teachers will see them as inherently less innocent than their white classmates, and who will fail to recognize their basic humanity. I will raise my voice for all of the people who died here just a few months shy of a century ago. For as long as I live, I will boldly and unapologetically tell these stories. And we are here today as a reminder of why you all should too. Thank you.
And for our next speaker. Thank you. It's okay. No, I'll speak loud. First I want to say thank you to Andrew and to Gabe for putting this together. I don't have any material that's specific to the gathering of today. My mission personally is, strengthening, advocating and strengthening for black families, and for all the injustices that happen to us as a people. And so I'm thankful to everybody that came out today, taking time out of the day to listen, to learn, to be educated. The piece that I'm doing today is called Ode to Black Women, about protecting black women, holding men accountable, and also for so black families can come back together, to just be a unified front, because there's so much. We all know about what happened with slavery, with taking the man out of the family, out of the home, and then just disassembling us strategically to where it's become so broken to where we are, to a point where we have to fight so hard for so little, or for like the average. So this is called Ode to Black Women. I know there's not a lot of black people here that's in the audience, but it doesn't matter, because again, my mission is to preserve black women and protect black families, and so thank you guys in advance. This is my ode to black women who've given everything to this world, but in return was made to be a victim. But first I'd like to apologize for not being wise about the issues that plague you when it comes to us guys. For years, the Bible's been used for evil and misconstrued to make you believe you'd have to submit to some fool, to the Angela Rise and Maya Angelou, created to help and be honored, but to not be subdued. for those who need the bigger picture. Let me quote you the words and you observe the meaning behind the scripture clearly as they submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. That's fundamental to most of us. We ain't getting that right. How can you follow one that has no sense of leadership, and when you start to hold them accountable, they plead the fifth? If you don't follow Christ, please don't follow him, because instead of worshiping God, you're going to end up worshiping him. My ode to black women. This is my ode to black women. This is my ode to black women who've given everything to this world, but the return was made to be a victim. My ode to black women. This is my ode to black women. This is my ode to black women who've given everything to this world, but the return was made to be a victim. Black men, here we go again. I promise I come in love, but y'all gonna make me repent. Yes, I'm talking to you, not all, but some of my brothers who's quick to raise their hand at someone that's like their mother. You would think this type of man was raised in the gutter, because you would rather beat her than provide her with cover. She don't entertain your advances because her garden's her own and you ain't plant shit. You just want to take her fruit because it's appealing to you, so her lack of willingness is just revealing the truth that you ain't worthy. But you can't be, so don't hurt me. First you gotta heal and get back to your creator so you can be your best self and function at levels greater. See the value in you, then see the value in her so we can get back to us and break the cycles and the curse. My ode to black women. This is my ode to black women. This is my ode to black women who've given everything to this world, but the return was made to be a victim. My ode to black women. This is my ode to black women. This is my ode to black women who've given everything to this world, but the return was made to, she's not pretty for being dark-skinned, damn it, she's just pretty. No, she's not an Oreo, but she's sweet in the midi. Just because she speaks with etiquette isn't a predicate that she wants to be white, she's educated and heaven sent. No dummy, she ain't got to be mixed, homie, that's just genetics. Do you believe in magic? Black girls, they're the illest. I love that natural hair is getting all this love. Ladies, embrace your crown, it's a blessing from above. Black men protect our women, continue to keep them safe, because while we were being slaughtered, they were fighting in our place. They don't need to look at us and see a sense of danger. They should see a haven, not a place that would taint her. Promise I love my people, we just need to be treated equal, so we don't turn around and make this poor movie a sequel. Turn up the faulty plates and make a new foundation, so we don't shift on the sand, instead we shift in the nation. My ode to black women. This is my ode to black women. This is my ode to black women who've given everything to this world. I do my part so I can see us winning. Thank you.